Saturday, May 27th, Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Now, you're going to see what I think is probably the best example of a UFO or a UAP in SpaceX history. Now, keep your eyes to the left. You'll see the UAP come into frame, and it immediately goes back into the same direction. Now, we're going to prove this is not a satellite, it's not ice particles. Altitude 165 kilometers. That's a screenshot taken at the exact time the UAP comes into frame. That's approximately, this is a rough estimation, but about 102 miles high at this point, 165 kilometers. We know low Earth orbit, LEO, is about 200 kilometers, making this impossible. It cannot be a satellite. They don't orbit that low. Okay, 124 miles is the lowest any satellite can orbit Earth. So it's not a satellite, and we're also going to prove it's not ice particles, it's not space debris, nothing like that. Just give me a minute and we'll get to it. But first, let's have a zoomed in look right here. Okay, you see this UAP come into frame, and it just changes its trajectory and goes back in the same direction that it came from, okay? Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's ice caused by the thrust of the Merlin engine on the Falcon 9, the two-stage Falcon 9 rocket. That's not true. And I heard a lot of people saying that in the comments section, over at SpaceX, and we're going to quickly debunk that. It is not the Merlin engine causing something to dart off into space. How do I know that? Well, because the engine was turned off. Mic drop.
With confirmation of successful second engine cutoff and first stage landing, we're going to be in a coast phase until just before the second relight of our MVAC engine on the second stage, which will be followed by payload deployment. So sit tight, and we'll see you back here around the T plus 28-minute mark. With confirmation of successful second engine cutoff and first stage landing, we're going to be in a coast phase until just before the second relight of our MVAC engine on the second stage, which will be followed by payload deployment.
Okay, so you heard her say they're in a coast phase, and they're about to relight the second engine at about 15 minutes from that point, and then they go ahead with the payload separation. So again, the Falcon 9 second stage at this point is simply coasting, and the first stage has already landed off the coast of California. So it's not the first stage. We know it's not a satellite. It's just not quite high enough yet for it to be a satellite. Now, the only thing I guess people could say is space debris, right? I mean, that's all you have left. Now, I can't prove that it isn't space debris, but what would cause it to change directions like that, right? Now, I could almost buy it if the rocket engine, the Merlin engine, was lit at that point, because it could, the thrust would, push the anomaly back the way it came from, possibly. But at this point, there's nothing up there. There's no atmosphere. There's no reason for this UAP to dart off in a different direction. It kind of reminds me of the STS-80 UFO sighting. So tell me what you guys think in the comments, and thank you for being here.